We're ready.
Hey, thanks. Well, I see some familiar faces from this morning, so that's nice to see you stuck it out. We're starting a little early, which is always nice because that means you get out early. Everybody always likes to get out early. So this is my husband, Mundy. Mundy.
Hi.
Everybody.
Hi.
There's Mundy. And so I didn't really properly introduce myself this morning, so I'm going to do it a little bit right now. And that's my mom, Virginia. This picture was taken when she was only 18 years old. It was her very first dance that she went to for school, and she borrowed the dress from her piano teacher. My mom grew up in West Virginia in a log cabin outside of Fairmont in Parkersburg, and they were very poor. And she, of course, was the baby also of her family.
And they lived in a log cabin, too.
They did. They lived in a log cabin.
You missed that part.
I did.
Yeah.
And that's my dad. It's a little bit dark there. Can you cut the lights just a teeny bit, if anybody? I don't know if you can hear me. But he loved cameras, and somebody pointed out to me that I had never noticed this before. Oh, wow. That's a lot of light cutting. But look at his hands. He's actually holding a camera, but somebody goes, oh, look, his hands are making a heart. I'd never noticed that before of all these years. So that's my dad, and you can tell from the outfit just about what time frame that is. And he was born in Germany. His name's Manfred Gustav, and came over on the boat with his mom, and his name is on Ellis Island. And my dad was in World War II. He was a bombardier, and he was stationed outside of Tampa for some specific training, because when you're a bombardier in World War II, you train as a pilot, as a navigator, and a bombardier. You're really the most important person on that plane, because if something happened to the co-pilot, pilot, or navigator, you can take over. Because at the moment that the bombardier drops the bomb, the pilot and the co-pilot's hands are off. The bombardier has complete control. So it was a very stressful, very hard position to have. But like I said, he was in Tampa. My mom was taking her very first trip away from home at 19 to go down to a hospital in Tampa, Florida to work as a candy striper. That's okay, the lights are good now. And so she was working down there as a candy striper, and her best friend Betty decided to go to a USO dance. And my dad was a huge, big fan of dancing. And they were in this big ballroom. And back then, the ladies could only dance with a soldier once. And then the soldier had to move on because they didn't want any falling in love or hanky-panky happening, right? So my dad and mom, see where it's going, realized that they could move from one corner of the ballroom to another corner of the ballroom, and he could act like it was his first time to ask her to dance each time. And they got away with it 6 times. Until one of the chaperones spotted them, and they went outside and sat talking the whole rest of the night. My dad got shipped away to Mississippi. He sent my mom 3 days later a telegraph, some money, and said, I'm deeply in love with you. We must marry. And she came on the train with her and Betty, and they got married. They were married for 56 years before my dad passed away. And there's a picture of the family. And as you can see, my mom and my oldest sister look pretty similar. My mom's sitting down, and they had the 4 girls, and then you can see they finally had the boy, right? Well, I'm number 6, count the kids. They thought they were done. They took the family photo, they never took another one. Can you believe that? So there I am. That was one of the reasons my brother was able to convince me I was adopted, because he said, if you were really born, wouldn't they have taken another picture? So yeah, they thought they were done, and then 6 years after the boy, I came along as a big surprise. And you know, life sometimes can take you really full circle. There's our sweet baby Grace at about 2.5, 3 years old, and that's my mom reading to her best friends, and you can see she's almost asleep. And then about 10 years after that, there's our sweet Grace reading to her grandma out on the back porch. So sometimes life just goes in this complete circle, and she's been living with Alzheimer's. I don't think she knows anything else. I don't know, she would know what it was like to live with a grandparent without Alzheimer's. And she's done pretty well. They've been best friends for all of Grace's life. And so we've been pretty lucky. So a few quick things. I always want to make sure that I kind of cover in that I feel like you have to know each person. So no matter who you're caring for, you've got to really know who this person is to give the best care. And even if it's your relative, did you really know the person before you came along? Do you know who they are when they were a teenager, when they were growing up? What are their favorite things to do? What's their favorite food? What's some of the things that they are most proud of throughout their whole life? So knowing each person, and I said this morning, but how each person is an individual. This disease, dementia, Alzheimer's, it's not a cookie cutter. There's no recipe to really follow. That's why you have to learn as much as you can and really give individualized care and really be in tune with the person. And then every person has the right to their best life, whatever their best life is. And I kind of felt bad a little bit watching the video of the gentleman being interviewed. I have to say, I felt like he'd kind of given up hope for his friends and that he could maybe still have a good life if he had a stroke. And he could maybe have a good life even with Alzheimer's. But, you know, I think he is like a lot of our elders that are out there that don't see the other side of the coin. And we have to change that paradigm out there because so many people think about Alzheimer's as just someone slumped over in a wheelchair, or stroke is you can't play golf ever again. When that gentleman, he could be really happy he can still run around in the golf cart. To me, that's the funnest part of golf, right? And getting to drink a couple beers afterwards, maybe. So every person has the right to their best life. So we want to warm up a teeny bit, and what we want to do is Monday and I met doing improv. Have any of you ever seen an improv show, improvisation, where people make it up? And so like that show, Whose Line Is It Anyway? So that's exactly what we were doing and sometimes do, still do. We just aren't quite that funny sometimes, and we don't get paid for it like they do. But he can be that funny, I think. But anyway, so we want to warm up a little bit, and what we want to do is just a little bit something different, is to talk about how the parallels of improv and Alzheimer's, then we're going to end with a couple of scenes to do for you. So first, to warm up, we're going to play this quick game of Next, because especially since we've been just kind of hanging out for a while.
Yeah, we should do that.
We got to like warm
Do you
up.
want to get lights back up?
Yeah, we should bring lights back up if whoever doesn't mind. Tap onto the glass back there, the man behind the glass. And then this is just a real simple game that we're going to improv some scenes for you. And all we need is a word. And we'll do a scene about that word. And then one of us will say next, and we'll get another word. And then we'll be warmed up, and we'll move on.
So any old word will do.
Ticket.
I heard ticket.
Ticket.
Okay. I need to get a.
So I can't hear you.
Hi. Hi. I need a bus ticket.
I'm sorry, I said I can't hear you.
I know, but when you leave the door up, then you can give me
okay,
the. Yeah,
all right,
I need
hi.
the bus ticket. I got to get on this bus. It's leaving right now.
To?
It's to Blacksburg.
To Blacksburg. You're going to Blacksburg today.
Yes.
Wow. That's
I've got-
$219.
Holy crap!
It's a very popular place to go.
Oh my gosh! It's only like 15 miles away.
I'm sorry. Everybody wants to go to Blacksburg.
Man, Trump bus systems is crazy.
Well, I'm sorry.
Next. Another word. Spaghetti.
Spaghetti. I can't believe I got front row seats at your cooking show.
Well, you won. You won the contest.
I did.
And now you got the front row.
You're my hero.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I'm very glad that you're here to see this, and I'm glad you're wearing that nice white dress. Okay. Here's a big old plate of spaghetti for you. Let me get a little bit of pepper on that for you.
That's great.
A little bit of Parmesan cheese.
Ooh.
Okay. And here's one of these automatic forks.
Oh, that is amazing.
Isn't it?
I'm a little surprised I'm the only one here. I thought you were more popular.
It's been going downhill.
Oh, I'm
Yes,
sorry.
ever since my cooking show became full contact.
Oh.
Got a little rough.
That's
Betty
not-
White knocked me out.
Oh. Next, one more word. Blue?
Blue.
Blue. Blue. Listen.
What?
doctor before you.
What are you talking about?
I'm sadder and bluer than you are.
Yeah, you're bluer than I am.
I am bluer.
Well, you're literally wearing all blue today,
I
which
am.
I think is a bit on the nose.
Yes, it is.
And that made me upset that I wasn't wearing blue.
Oh, you poor baby.
And now people may not think I'm
Kleenex.
as sad
Yes,
as I am
poor baby.
because I'm wearing bright plaid.
It doesn't look good.
I'm gonna go golfing later.
Oh. Well, this whole thing makes me feel bluer than blue.
Oh, yeah. We'll go in together.
Let's sing a little Linda Ronstadt. Bluer than blue. Oh, never mind. People aren't old enough for that.
That's true. We gotta get our
right.
Paxil.
So you get the idea. You get the idea. You make it up on the spot. So we want to talk about some of these things
Yes.
that we just did. One of the things, of course, improvisation is what, Mundy?
The spontaneous revelation of what the imagination presents.
That's his definition.
That's my definition.
Mine is making stuff up. But back up for a second. What do you mean by that?
Well, when you're in an improv situation, you get a suggestion from the audience. But not only that, you're also working with the attention of the audience, what the audience has reacted to previously, who you're working with on stage. There are all these different things that come together. And your imagination just is working all the time. Your brain is always working to produce the world that you see around you. The world you see around you is very quite different from the world that you see. When your senses when the light comes into your eyes and projected into your occipital lobe or into the back of your eyeball, the image is inverted in the back of your eye. Your brain has to turn it upside down, and your eye actually doesn't see the entire your entire field of vision immediately. It works almost more like a printer does. If you look at someone's eyes when they're looking around at the world, they're constantly moving. And the reason it's constantly moving is because it's filling in and creating this static image that you see. Most of what you're seeing when you actually see stuff out of your peripheral vision is constructed out of memory. And so human eyes do that, but like when you see a bird, the birds are always moving their heads because their eyes don't do that, but our eyes do. Anyway, so your imagination is always working just to provide the world that you see. And your imagination also wants to give you answers. If you are presented with something novel, your imagination is giving you a list of the possible things that novel thing could be. Most of the time, we sort of repress that list so we can concentrate on what we have to do. But when we're doing improv, or you're trying to be creative, your imagination will spontaneously present you with plenty of options all the time. But you're used to suppressing those, so you're just sort of opening yourself up to those.
Whew.
I know it's a lot.
In other words, making stuff up. But what he's saying is, all the time, our folks that we're working with who have Alzheimer's, other
Yes.
forms of memory loss, are doing this. They're having spontaneous revelation in what their imagination presents.
Yes,
And
from their
so-
stimulus, that the way they see the world.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so what we're trying to do is to figure out how to best help them. And what I realized a long time ago was that the rules, so-called rules, more like guidelines of how to be with someone with Alzheimer's, and the guidelines of performing improv are parallel. So if you can use some of those guidelines, then it can really help you. Here's some of the terminology, just a little bit of it, that we use in improv. We use the word gifts. So that is, someone defines you or the environment around you. So in other words, Mundy, if you gave me a gift, it might look something like what?
Oh, that's a great duck you have on your head.
So he just gave me this gift of having a duck on my head. Now, the rule is you always accept all gifts. So in order for me to accept that gift, I might say yes, and then I use that gift. And usually you try and give him a gift back. Oh, and look to see what kind of dance it makes you do when you wear it. So there you go. So that's how a gift works. Now you think about in the world of Alzheimer's, someone defines you or the environment. Thinking about how my mom now is calling me the neighbor girl instead of her daughter Karen. She's defining me. She's giving me this gift that she loves who I am. She still sees me as someone who's helping her, even though she may not see me as or know me as her daughter or Karen. She still is giving me this gift of, and I say, well, do you like me being around here? Oh, I love you being here. And so it's a great gift. Another word is we call it accepting, when you're embracing the gifts made by other performers in order to advance the scene. And that's exactly what I did. I accepted the duck on my head, and then I moved the scene forward. So you can even see how some of the language. Here's another one, blocking. If you reject information, offers, or gifts made by another player, which is a common newbie mistake, a common new improv. So if Monday came up to me and I said, "Forgive me, Father, for I've sinned."
And then I was like, I'm not a priest, and I got stuff to do in my back that way.
So he just blocked my offer, my
I'm
gift
not even-
to him. He didn't accept it whatsoever. Yeah. So if my mom was to come up to me and say, "Oh, it's so nice to see you here helping me today. Maybe you need to go back home next door." If I say, "No, I live here, I'm your daughter," I'm pretty much blocking. I'm blocking how she feels. There's no use to do that. One of the biggest rules of improv is yes and. If you ever took a class or even looked up anything about improv, you'd see the phrase yes and, because we never want to say no on stage. We always want to accept everything and move the scene forward. So if you think about that, like if someone said that they wanted to go where?
I want to go home.
So have you ever heard anybody say that has Alzheimer's or dementia? I want to go home. And if I reply, "Oh, no, this is your home. This is where you live," then the person might feel like, "I just said I want to go home. Aren't you listening to me?" Right? But if I say, you say it to me again.
I want to go home.
Yes. And tell me about your home.
Oh, I grew up on a goat farm. They were fainting goats. They're so difficult to milk.
So
really difficult.
I said, "Yes, and tell me about your home." Or I've used this one. Say it again.
I want to go home.
Yes, and let's get a jacket. It's kind of chilly outside. Now, by the time we're walking and talking, I'm not saying to him, "Let's go back to your room and get a jacket," but I'm saying yes to him. I hear you, I understand. And by the time I'm walking down the hall, we might see our dog. Or if we're in a nursing home, we might see that they're baking cookies. Or we might look outside and see there's birds at the bird feeder. And we might just then redirect and change the subject off of that "I want to go home." But that yes and, to say yes to somebody instead of that constant no. Because when you really think about it, we say no a lot, right? We say to the person that's trying to go down the hall, "No, don't go down that hall right now. No, don't sit over there. That's not your seat in the dining room. Oh, no, here, sit down. I don't want you to fall. I'll push you in the wheelchair." No, no, no. And even if we're not saying the word, think about how many losses the person already has. They're getting a lot of no's, even if it's not verbal. Maybe pen pals aren't writing anymore. Maybe they're not able to take their evening walks anymore because they don't want to even use their walker because they're ashamed. Maybe there's some folks that aren't coming to visit because they repeat the same story over again and this friend doesn't know what to do. So they're getting more and more and more no's as their life or their condition progresses. So to hear yes and can be kind of nice.
Yeah, and it also produces a kind of like habit. Although memory is the defining aspect of Alzheimer's. Is what you lose, and they can't, if you ask someone, they won't be able to remember the last couple of minutes. But there's a kind of classical conditioning that happens if you really commit to trying to follow these guidelines. There's this sort of like positive conditioning that whenever I see this person, they always have this kind of flexibility about them. There's never any kind of conflict. And although they can't recall the previous times that has heard, they've felt that way, they have this kind of bodily experience of positivity. So Karen's mom, I've been around here now for 10, 12 years now with Alzheimer's, and I just follow these guidelines because I was working in improv most of the time, and it just was like my natural way of being. And so now whenever she sees me, she just kind of starts laughing, which can be really frustrating in the middle of the night when I need her to go back to bed.
But the truth is, he doesn't have any other agenda.
That's true.
And that's why he's the better caregiver than I could ever be. I can't help it. No matter how good you are as a relative, you're always going to have a little baggage on your back. You can get rid of it, but you're still gonna have a little backpack. You can try. That guilt we talked about this morning. You're still gonna have some, but he's entered this relationship with mom with nothing else except to make her happy. And so he follows these guidelines without any baggage, and it works so well. But that yes and can say to that person, I understand. I hear you. I know how you feel. It validates, it can empathize, and it agrees with the person. How nice is that? To have somebody say, yes, I hear you. So we're gonna have you guys, everybody, I know some of you have little tables out, but could you just stand for just a second? We'll do a quick exercise. You wanna lead Yes Let's?
Yeah, sure. This is a very simple thing called Yes Let's. One person will shout out something that we can do right where we're standing, like let's spin a lasso. So we all start spinning a lasso.
But we all say yes.
Well, yes, let's.
And then we spin.
And we spin. And then we keep doing this until anyone yells out another activity. As soon as we hear that, we all say yes, let's, and start doing that. So we'll just do the spinning of a lasso
until somebody
someone
else
yells
tells
out
us
something else to do. What was it?
Screaming.
Yes, let's. Let's bounce a ball.
Yes,
let's.
Bounce a ball.
Let's touch our nose.
Yes, let's.
Let's march.
Yes, let's. Gonna be marching for a while,
There's a lot
people.
of marching fans here.
Yes, let's. Caw-caw. Caw-caw. Sorry.
Yes, let's.
Woo, let's sit down.
Yes, let's.
All right, so yes, let's. I know that has nothing to do with Alzheimer's, but it gets you guys standing up for a minute. It also does feel good when you say, let's scream, and everybody does. Holy Moses, when does that ever happen? You know, usually it's like, let's see, we need some paperwork to do that, and we need to do this. But how nice. So let's move forward. Here's another lesson. This is another guideline for both improv and Alzheimer's. Go with the flow. Going with the flow is huge in Alzheimer's. You go with the flow of wherever the scene goes. If I started a scene and I was over here and you could tell that I was clearly what am I doing? Pouring something in, right? Took something out of a big thing, probably a fridge. I'm pouring something in a cup. And if he comes in and I know in my mind, this is where I'm going. I am pouring something in a cup, but he says,
Doctor, the patient, we're losing him right now. He's having cardiac arrest.
so I have to go with the flow of what he's coming in and doing. I gotta forget about this, or more likely, I gotta work what I just did in. Well, I was on my coffee break, but darn it, that's more important.
Okay.
Right? So I gotta go with the flow of whatever comes in. So to bring that over into Alzheimer's, here's a little something that was happening at our house.
Oh, so Karen's mom looked out the window, and in North Carolina, or at least in our backyard, we have a lot of bamboo, and it's really, you know how bamboo is, it grows like crazy.
Won't stop.
And it won't stop. And so we just have this big bamboo patch behind our house.
And she'll be standing at the kitchen window,
Yeah.
and she was washing dishes, or more likely just pouring soap all over those dishes. And she was looking out the window, and she goes, look.
And I go out there, I'm like, well, I don't, where, what?
Look.
What are you seeing?
They're back.
Who's back?
The monkeys.
The monkeys.
They're back, the monkeys.
Yeah. Well, you know what we should do? We should capture one of those monkeys and
What?
bring it into the house.
No.
Yeah, we can put some pants on it.
What?
And we can train it to be our butler. We got to get pants on that thing, though, because that's not going to be good if he isn't wearing pants.
No, we
It'll be
can't
great.
do that. And she'll laugh and she'll go along because Monday just goes with the flow of whatever my mom says. And then about 2 minutes later, she'll be at the sink and she'll go, oh, look.
What is it?
They're back.
Oh, the monkeys.
The monkeys. And she'll go through, and so Monday can find a different way to approach this about the monkeys. And he keeps going with the flow. The one thing I do want to say is there's a lot of people who say, oh, that's because people with Alzheimer's have delusions. Not true. She's not having delusions whatsoever. If you were standing at the sink and you saw something that was jumping from bamboo, and the bamboo's swinging, right? And this thing is jumping from piece of bamboo to piece of bamboo, what would you think it could be? You wouldn't think she in her mind is thinking, that can't be a squirrel. It's gotta be a monkey. And so that makes sense. She's making sense of what she sees. She's making sense of this new world that's around her.
Like we all do all the time, like we've always done.
All the time. We always do that.
But she doesn't have the same context that we have anymore. She doesn't know that she's in North Carolina. She sees bamboo, animal jumping from bamboo. It makes sense to
Must
sort of
be a monkey.
make that a monkey. Yeah.
So hopefully one day we might have a monkey butler.
Yeah.
I can dream, right? I can
Be
dream.
a squirrel.
So I want you guys to practice going with the flow a little bit. So what I'd like for you to do is you don't have to move all your stuff. I just would like for you to find a partner, that's somebody that could be your partner. And so if you're by yourself, you may have to move and find someone else that's sitting alone. So find a partner and go sit with them real quick. Find yourself a partner. Lovely. What'd you say, honey?
Did we start at 3:30?
I don't know. Wow, really? No way. Anyway, okay, so this is what I'd like for you to do. Decide between you and your partner who's 1 and 2. Okay, so number 2 is going to start, and all I want you to do is this. So Monday, come here, I want to show you.
Yeah.
I want to show them. So you're going to tell a story about that picture. So if I'm number 2 and he's 1, I'm going to start the story, but I can stop whenever I want, and he has to pick up the story. And then he keeps going, and then he can stop whenever he wants. So if I was to say, we were driving one day through this huge park, huge park, and I saw
These little bears just walking along like people on their back legs, just going along, checking the cars out. And I was driving my great 1955 Woody, and the bears come straight up to it, and lo and behold, roll down the window, and they say,
hello, my name is Woody. That's my bear name. So anyway, he can stop, you can start whenever you want, but you've got to really listen to the person to pick up the story. And it's really good to look at the person, that's what I was trying to get you to do.
I was just getting the information from them.
But to look at the person as you're telling the story too. So you ready? 2 starts the story about that picture. Go. We started at 3:30?
I don't know, I'm trying to figure out.
That can't be.
See
I say
when
we
my
take our time.
See when my last text was. Yeah, I think it was like 3:30 because
Yeah.
at 3:15 you were like, come on in, and
Yeah.
it was about 15 minutes later we started.
So we were supposed to stop at 4:40.
And we were starting early.
Yeah, so we started at 3:30. So we'll go to 4:30. Yeah, we're right.
We're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking we've got more than enough material.
Yeah. And even if we go a little bit long, that's okay.
Okay.
All right. How'd your story go? Good stories? Awesome. I think I really interrupted some deep storytelling going on here. Because I was watching some of you, and there was some laughter and some deep looking into each other's eyes. And so that's great. But like, when was the last time you thought about telling a story too? Storytelling is awesome. It's really fun. And it helps you, it's a great exercise to really think about listening to someone else, because you're trying to continue that thought, continue on that story. I'll let you, unless you want to sit by your new friend, I'll let you go back to wherever you were. And I just want to say about this picture is that I was doing a storytelling session with persons who have dementia. And we hand out these pieces of paper, and they look at the piece of paper, and it's called time slips. You can go on the website and even do your own story, but timeslips.org. And we were doing this, and I learned a really big lesson by doing a lot of that storytelling over a period of time. And one thing is to never put words or thoughts into the mouths or brains of someone with Alzheimer's. Let them decide. Let them fill it all in. It's not about me, it's about them. Because what I learned with this was, I pass out this picture, and everybody's got it in their hand, and there's about 16. And what we do is we write down everything that's said. We capture the story. And so one of the ladies says, I said, well, how do you think we should start this story? And they're looking at the picture, and she said, well, of course, it's Halloween. And I went, okay. She said, so I think we should start with the 3 little triplets went out trick-or-treating. Right? So I never said, what do we think those bears are doing? Or why are they at that car? Or that car is called a Woody, or anything. And one by one they said, yep, that's what we should do. That's what it's called. And they all then started telling this story and chiming in that last year for Halloween, they dressed up as the 3 little kittens. And the year before that, they were the 3 little pigs. And every year they dress up as different animals. And then the only gentleman that was in the group, he stood up and he goes, stop, stop, stop. And I thought, oh, he's probably thinking, I'm gonna tell them it's all bears. He turned around and he goes, fine, but I'd like to know, why are they trick-or-treating at a car? So he was bought into them being kids in costumes, but he wanted to know, why are they asking for candy at a car? And the ladies looked at him and said, oh, of course, Ed, it's because they're camping. So they stop all the cars that are driving by the campsite. And all of them went, that's right, that's right, that's true. So I know to never fill in those blanks for people. Step into their world. It's another big improv lesson to know. And it's exactly the same. If my mom thinks she's back in 1942, I'm gonna step into that world. If she tells me while she's watching a 1985 game of Family Feud with all these gymnasts on it, and they announce Mary Lou Retton, my mom says, I grew up with her. And we're sitting there, and my daughter goes, Grandma, and I went, if she thinks she grew up with her, let's ask how it was to grow up with Mary Lou Retton and see what happens. So, just the exact same thing that we should, really step into their world.
Yeah.
And you know what they tend to do? Why does that look so? So we look at that and we glance at it and we sometimes fill in the blanks. And when it's not, ice cream is good, but we try to fill in those blanks sometimes. And that's exactly what people with Alzheimer's do. They're filling in those blanks. They're trying to figure out, gosh, that person looks familiar. I must know them. I probably grew up with them. Because their memories don't all connect. They're trying to figure this out. And they don't have all the information. So for us to argue and say, no, you didn't, Mom, why are you saying that? Why not step into their world and join them? It's much more fun. And it makes your life so much easier to not ever argue. Because you know that, right? You're never gonna win an argument, ever. This person has a brain disease and they don't remember what they just said. It's kind of like arguing with a man. Oh, I'm sorry, what? Did I just say that out loud? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I know it's useless to argue.
With anybody, right? Yeah. Anyway.
Anyone at home.
So, step into their world, really listening to, and when that person is having emotional, they're upset, they're agitated, they're frustrated, what is the content behind that? Is there something they're trying to say? Or are they saying, I'm just fine, but you can see on their face, you can hear in their voice that they're not, that you need to investigate a little bit further. Do you want to play a little interpreter?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
All right. Karen is going to be from a made-up country, so someone needs to make up the name of a country, just sort of like squiggle some words together or smish some sounds together and create a country name for her. Shawalanan. She is from Shawalanan. And I speak Shawalananese, and I will be interpreting for her. I'm sure everyone here has plenty of questions about what Shawalanan is like.
Ashaba shiniba shibida dubada.
In her country, they don't have the sun. And so this hurts. When she was right in front of the projection, that hurts her eyes.
Shabada.
Her Shawanese eyes are very sensitive to that amount of light. All right, well, if anyone just ask any old question about Shawanana, and I'll then translate for her, and we'll find out more about this wonderful country. Just any old thing at all is great to hear. Just
You like Shanana?
okay. Shabanama, Zimanki, Manasiman, Menasa, do ba 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 ba.
Oh, ashalaka boda buri ole bida da bada ba ho laka naka laka.
That's actually why they named their country that. Shawanana, well, they did, there was just sort of an unincorporated crazy area. They were so sad, but then their tour bus broke down when they were in a mass tour of this rare part of Europe, and they broke down at the country that was going to become Shawanana, and they saw them, and they were just, wow, this is wonderful. Hey, they're great, we love them. And so that is how actually they got their country to become. So yes, they love them quite a bit. They're venerated as heroes.
What does their flag look like?
Oh, okay. So
Oh, shlaka moka dipi dip tata. Uti biti biti boo. Lapada shoop shloop mo.
It is a mocha-colored flag with just the picture of Bowser from Shanana. And we salute it like this every morning.
So
That's what their flag looks like. Oh, yeah.
you get the idea. So the gibberish, so even if a person isn't making sense, you can still see, what is this person trying to see? Is there any emotion? Is there any meaning behind what the person's saying? Now, of course, we were doing it in a comedic way, but that idea is still there. We teach people in improv to be very aware of what that content you're getting from another person and responding to that emotional content that's on stage. When you think about it, it's exactly the same thing. Really keeping in mind how that person's feeling and how can you best respond sometimes. And then another rule is listen fully. Really completely, just like you guys were doing when you were going with the flow, to listen fully to the other person. And sometimes that means letting go of everything else that's going on and just listening. Let's see. How are we on time? I'm going to skip through this for now. So here's another thing too. When we're talking about emotional, or when you see that someone's upset, when you see that someone is feeling frustrated, because really when you think about it, you put yourself in their shoes, you would probably be just as frustrated if you were in their shoes, just as angry, just as sad. So what can we do? I see you're feeling angry. Is there anything I can do? I understand. I'm so sorry. Even if you didn't do anything, I'm so sorry. But this, I see you're feeling sad. Put a name on it. Say, I'm so sorry. Is there something I can do for you? I have to admit, though, if I walked in the room and I saw Mundy and he had Alzheimer's and he's standing at the end of the hall with his arms crossed, I'm going to stay here when I say, I see you're feeling angry. Is there anything I can do for you?
Ice cream.
Then I'd go get him ice cream.
Yeah.
But I keep my distance a little bit. And because someone feeling that angry and they may not be aware of who I am and what's going on and they're just so frustrated, I can understand where that's coming from. But hey, smiling is always something that we can do. Did you want to say something about smiling because you were commenting about that earlier?
Oh, just the fact that I tend to do that whenever I walk into the room with your mom. I just always smile right away. It gets you past other things. If you're feeling sad, or if you're feeling upset, or you're feeling frustrated or angry, if someone's genuinely smiling, then it gets away from that. It sort of undermines that anger and frustration. It diffuses that a little bit, and then you can get to where the source of it, wherever that's coming from. It sort of skips you ahead a little bit, rather than having them explain why they might be angry or upset. They might probably don't remember what initially caused the anger, the upsetness. The anger or the upsetness could be from like
me.
Yep.
In the morning that I said, sorry, Mom, but you can't have another piece of toast because you already had oatmeal and 2 pieces of toast and you're diabetic, and she's mad at me.
But that memory is gone. There's no access to that memory. But the only thing that has remained is
anger.
the anger. And then you say, well, explain your anger. She can't explain her anger. That makes her even more angry, because that's a frustrating thing to be.
So he walks in after I walk out of the room and doesn't understand why she's angry. He can do that.
Yeah.
And that can be a big source. And I'm not saying it can make a difference every time.
No.
But smiling is pretty powerful. And I mean, all these animals, everybody, look at those dolphins smiling.
Yeah.
Look at that kitty cat. The other cat's like, what? And the other one's so happy, he's got his ears going down. I did this, I was doing this long workshop, and in a long-term care community. So I had people from all over, adult day, assisted living, nursing home, and I had about 20 people in the workshop. And I decided, it was an 8-week workshop, and I decided to tell them, hey, I want you guys to pick out your calendars right now and just pick any day between now and when we meet next week. And they were like, well, what for? This is dumb, blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, but you got your day? I said, now that's your smile day. And they're like, oh, great, that'll be stupid. And I said, so what I want you to do is the moment you wake up, I want you to smile at everybody you make eye contact with. So every single person that you make eye contact with, you smile. And they're like, oh, this is horrible. So the first one back after that next week was the DON. And she walked in and she like threw her bag down and she said, so I did your little smile thing. And I said, great. I said, how'd it go? And she said, well, first of all, my 13-year-old son was like, stop it. What is wrong with you, Mom? God, would you stop looking at me like that? Man, I'm so glad you're not driving carpool today, because you're embarrassing. Then she said she got to work, and she was sitting in her office, and the assistant director of nursing came in, shut the door, walked over and went, all right, what's going on? Who's getting fired? Somebody getting fired? Is that why you're smiling so much? Oh, no, wait, you're quitting. Is that what's going on? You're leaving us, right? Is that what's happening? Then she said she went home, and her husband walks in and just kind of put a bouquet of flowers down and went, there you go. And she said, what are these for? And he goes, I don't know. He was like, I'm just covering my bases because something weird was happening this morning. And she said, she said, number one, I realized how much I go through my day without smiling and how much it affects those who are around me. But she said, I really realized how much it must be affecting my residents. And I'm just not aware of it. She said, I'm just trying to get things done. And I feel like, I just want to get from point A to point B, and I'm not enjoying the travel. I'm just zooming through. And she said, though I felt really ridiculous, she said it was a good exercise for her to do. And so I will never forget her, because she just cracked me up. Look at that sweet baby. That's my favorite. And silence can be powerful, and you can always learn a little something from silence too. Should we play mirrors, or should we keep going and see what we have time?
Let's do a little mirrors, because it's
Okay,
really
great.
good.
Okay, so this is what I want you to do. Because we have space. There's some space down here, and there's some space up there, but I challenge you to come down here too. But I want you to find a partner. It can be anybody, except I want it to be somebody that you don't know. Go find someone you've not met before, and then find a place. Either you can stand in between the chairs with that person, or down here,
wherever.
Somewhere. Find a place you can stand with your partner. Go.
So then we can go straight to Henry and Betsy.
Considering best was about 15 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's see how much we have left. I can't remember even.
Thank you.
I can look while they're doing it.
Sure.
Okay, everybody got a partner? Who needs a partner? Raise your hand. There's some people who are like, I'm staying in my seat. Maybe she won't notice me. Okay, if you need a partner, raise your hand. Monday can be a partner if you need one. Oh,
Yeah.
good. Hey, we're partnered up.
All
This
right,
is
we have an
lovely.
even number of people.
Okay, so this is what's going to happen is I'll explain to you. Monday night I'll show you real quick. So what you want to do is stand with your partner and you're going to face the person. So don't do it yet. You can do it after you're done. And you're going to put your hands up. You got some space, so you don't have to touch this new person you just met. Okay? So don't worry. And then, here, decide between you and your partner who's A and who's B. Decide. No matter where I do this, I always know all you personality A types because you're out there going, all right, you're B, I'm A. Or it's A, B. And then the other person, if you're a little personality B, you're like, sure, whatever.
It's cool.
It's cool.
She's A.
I'll do whatever. Okay, so when Karen says go, whoever is A in your partnership is going to begin to move and B will follow. So if I did this, if I move my hands, if I move my head, if I move my body, but at some point I might say switch, Karen will, and when I say switch, the other person takes over. Stop it. And then I could say switch, and it goes back to the other person. So it just goes back and forth. And you don't have to go back to the beginning when I say switch. You just switch over control from wherever you're at. So if you're the person that's leading, you don't want to do something like, woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! Because you're not trying to say, ha-ha, you can't do what I do, or kick the person that's next to you. You're trying to move to where if we look around the room, we can't really tell who's leading and who's following. The other rule of this is, and Monday knew it, of course, right away, is eye contact. You can't look at the hands. You can't look behind your partner to see what they're doing back there. You can only look at your partner's eyes. And there's no talking. And one more. If your partner is making stupid, goofy faces like Monday does, go ahead, like that, then you have to make stupid, goofy faces like he does. Because it's not just about the hands. You're mirroring the whole body. Okay? Easy enough. Who's A and who's B? Okay, you guys get ready, and once I hear it's quiet, I'll tell you to go. Ready? Shh. Set. A begins. Go. Watch those eyes. Good. Think about how you're moving.
You want to move slow, like slow motion, or as if you're in underwater?
Watch those eyes. Switch.
Try not to talk.
I can't help it sometimes. It's so funny. What's next? Switch. Here. That's it. That's okay. Switch. Watch the eyes. Switch. I say we do the whole thing. Switch. You're both doing this. Okay, stop.
Yay.
Woo! Okay, say goodbye to your partner. Goodbye, partner. You can go sit down. Say goodbye, partner, and you can go sit. So we'll talk about this real quick. So what? No right, no wrong. What'd you think of that? Fun? What else?
I'm not good at following.
You're not good at following? Who liked to lead better? Ooh, who liked to follow? Who liked neither one? What else? So no right, no wrong. What else did you think about that?
It was easier than what I thought it would be.
It was easier than what you thought it would be. Good.
Is it like a mirror?
It was kind of like a mirror.
And when they turn their body
It was like you had to turn your body too, right?
the same way? Or
Yeah,
opposite?
the same way. So you didn't have to be the opposite reflection because that's way too much for our brains to handle. So it's almost like, do you remember that bit in I Love Lucy? For most of us remember, where I Love Lucy and Harpo? So they were pretending they were a mirror, but they were moving the same, exactly what you guys were doing. Any other thoughts about it?
It's hard to be quiet.
Hard to be quiet. And usually I have the women saying that. That's all right.
You had to pay attention.
You had to really pay attention, she said. You had to really pay attention to the person. It was funny to making someone else laugh? Yeah, you two were cracking up. There was some of you who kept getting the giggles. There were some of you who were totally serious. They were point on. I could not tell who was leading, who was following, which it didn't matter if you were laughing, of course. You could have laughed. I just said no talking. Any other comments? So I love that game for a lot of reasons. Number one is that eye contact. I do think it's kind of this lost art form. I do think that the more and more our society is going to these little things, you could see a family of four sitting in a restaurant, just all four of them. They don't even look up when they order food. And, you know, I think that I remember I was just last week in a very beautiful, wonderful nursing home. And I'm walking down the hallway and I see this person walking towards me, and just about when they get eye contact, that wallpaper is so interesting to them that they're looking the other way. And I'm just like, oh man, you know, and so I say hello anyway. But I was thinking about all that years ago, and thinking about when we had our one and only Grace, and you hold that new baby, no matter if it's your baby, your grandbaby, a neighbor, your niece or nephew, and you hold that sweet new baby and you look down, and what do you look at? Their eyes, right? Then you check the fingers, the toes, whatever else is. And how many of you have actually been with someone while they're dying? Raise your hand. Almost the whole room. What are you looking at? Their eyes. We know it's close. We know it's time. The doctors have told us. We're waiting for their eyes to slowly close or glaze over. So when you think about how important that is, from the moment we're born to the moment we die, that eye contact to us is so important. And especially to the generation that we're helping to care for. I remember growing up with my mom shaking her finger at me. Young lady, when there's somebody that's older than you in the room, and it was usually when we're on our way to some family, you know, boring function, right? Somebody older than you need to look them in the eyes and close your mouth, because you never know, you might learn something, right? But always that looking in the eye. And I think especially for people who are struggling with communication, that they can't find the right word, and they don't know if what they're doing is right, what they just said was correct, where they exactly are at times. To make that eye-to-eye connection with another person is pretty powerful. Then I think there's this beautiful give and take. No matter what you did, that partner did it. They didn't say, no, I don't do that. I'm sorry, I put my foot down. They did it. Whatever you did, they did it right back. And then back and forth. And I saw all respect happening. I didn't see anybody doing any of this or whatever. Everyone was very respectful of your partners. And I also believe this. I believe that if you left here in a little while and you're like, oh, I've got to go by the grocery store. So you go in and you stop at Kroger on the way home, and you're standing there and you're looking at you're looking at melons, and you look over and you see the person that was just now your partner. right? And then they run away.
And then you see them the next door.
And you keep seeing them all through the store, so you have to just leave and go to another store. But I bet you would remember that person no matter where you see them. You may not remember their name, but you remember them. Because I bet, what did I do with my phone now? That I timed you guys. Let's see how long it was. 1 minute and 30 seconds. You guys are doing that for only 90 seconds. You feel longer? Yeah. Usually around a minute, there's at least a couple of people going, oh my gosh, where is she? Oh, she's making us do this for like 20 minutes. I got no more moves left. I'm gonna fly. So it just took 90 seconds to make a connection with another person with no words. That's it, 90 seconds. How powerful can that be? And I realized too that sometimes we need to really think about who needs that 90 seconds from us. Is it the person we're helping to care for? Is it a relative? Is it somebody we work with? I'm not sure, but that 90 seconds can be pretty powerful. So that silence can be powerful, so can that eye contact, getting it to their own eye level. And being in the moment is another huge rule for both. It can teach us patience, can really teach us to enjoy that person and where they are, and it can teach us to escape the everyday. I bet when you were just playing that exercise, you didn't think about anything else. There was nothing, you had no stress, you had no worry except for maybe some of the things your partner was making you do. But you had no worries, you were just doing this exercise. Just escape the everyday, to be in the moment. Of course, my friend Ram Dass, I call him my friend, I wish he was my friend. Be here now, to just be present and take that breath sometimes. And sometimes when you do get frustrated, because we're human and you're gonna get frustrated no matter if you work in a place where our elders live, or they live with you, or if you're a caregiver, no matter what, you're gonna get stressed once in a while. And you're gonna get tired, and you're gonna get so sick of hearing that first verse of Amazing Grace that sometimes you need to take that breath. And I've literally counted to 10. I've closed my eyes. And sometimes I've looked in my mom's eyes and said, Mom, will you count to 10 with me? Sure. And she's like, we'll count to 10. And I'll calm down. She calms down. And then she says, you're crazy. And that's okay. It makes me feel better. It makes her feel better. Sometimes I've got to get up and leave the room. Take a breath. I come back in and I try a different thing. And it can make all the difference in the world. So let's see where we're at for time here. We're at 4:30. So we've got a few minutes.
Yeah.
We can force it, huh?
Sure. Yeah.
Is that okay with you guys? Okay. So first I just want to read you guys a story. It's our daughter's favorite book growing up. One of them. And I want to share with you this story. It is called Wilfred Gordon MacDonald Partridge. Have you ever heard of this book? It's a wonderful book. By an author named Mem Fox. She's from Australia. She's written many different books. There once was a small boy called Wilfred Gordon MacDonald Partridge. And what's more, he wasn't very old either. His house was next door to the old people's home, and he knew all the people that lived there. You see, he really liked Mrs. Jordan, who loved to play the organ. And he liked to listen to Mr. Hoskins, who told him scary stories.
And he opened up the door, and the only thing there was a potato.
And he played with Mr. Tippett, who was crazy about cricket.
And the ball hit the wicket, and the wicket didn't move any way whatsoever because it was a sticky wicket. Yes.
And he ran errands for Miss Mitchell, who walked with a pretty pink stick.
I want some vitamin D milk, and a Milky Way, and some milk and magnesia. I love milk.
And he admired Mr. Drysdale. He had a voice like a giant.
Well, let's just go outside and get that kite out of this tree.
But his favorite person of all was Miss Nancy Allison Delacourt Cooper, because she had 4 names just as he did. He liked to call her Miss Nancy and tell her all his secrets. One day, Wilfred overheard his parents talking about Miss Nancy. "Poor old thing," said his mother.
Why is she a poor old thing?
Asked Wilfred Gordon. "Well," said his father, well, because, son, she's losing some of her memory." "Well, I mean, after all, she is 96, said his mother.
What is a memory?
Oh, he was always asking questions. "Well," said his father, "it's something you remember. It's something you remember." But Wilfred wasn't satisfied. So he decided to go call on Mrs. Jordan, who loved to play the organ. And he said, "Mrs. Jordan, what's a memory?"
Oh, that's something that keeps you warm, my dear. That's something that keeps you warm.
And he called up Mr. Hoskins, who told him scary stories, and said, "Mr. Hoskins, what's a memory?"
That's something from long ago, my lad. Something from long ago.
He called on Mr. Tippett, who was crazy about cricket, and said, "Mr. Tippett, what's a memory?"
Oh, that's something that makes you cry, my son. That's something that makes you cry.
And he called on Miss Mitchell, who walked with a beautiful stick, and said, "Miss Mitchell, what's a memory?"
Oh, that's something that makes you laugh. That's something that makes you laugh.
Then he called on Mr. Drysdale with the voice of a giant, and he said, "Mr. Drysdale, what's a memory?"
That's something more precious than gold, young man. Something more precious than gold.
So Wilfred Gordon went home to look for some memories for Miss Nancy because she had lost some of her own. He looked for his shoebox full of shells from long ago last summer, and he found his biggest and bestest shell and put it in his basket. Then he found this puppet that sometimes made people laugh, so he decided to put that in his basket too. And he remembered with some sadness of a medal that was his grandfather's, and he placed it gently in his basket next to the shell. Next, he found his football, which was more precious than gold, and he put it in the basket. And on the way to Miss Nancy's, he went into the hen house and got a warm, fresh egg and put it gently in the basket too. Then Wilfred Gordon called on Miss Nancy, and he gave her his basket of wonderful things. Oh, look at this. Oh, Wilfred. Oh, you've given me such wondrous things.
And then Miss Nancy started to remember. She held the egg and remembered the time she had gone and found a bird's nest in her aunt's garden. And the bird's egg had speckles all over it. She held the shell and put it up to her ear and remembered going to the beach by tram and how hot she felt in her button-up boots. She touched the medal and talked sadly of a big brother who had gone off to war, never to return. She smiled at the puppet and remembered the time she had made her sister laugh with the puppet, and her sister had a mouthful of porridge at the time. She tossed the football to Wilfred Gordon and remembered the day they met and all the secrets they had told. And the two of them smiled.
And smiled.
Because some of Miss Nancy's memories have been found again.
By a little boy who wasn't very old either. So, we're looking at the time and we're concerned. So should we be concerned? Can we do another thing? All right, here we go.
Okay.
Henry,
What?
I'm gonna look on this side of the garage. You look over there.
What? What did you say?
I said, you look on that side of the garage. I'm looking over here.
If you're gonna be over here, I'm gonna be over here too. You shouldn't be by yourself in a dark parking structure.
Henry, it's not dark at all in here,
I don't
dear.
know why they don't put more lights in here. I can barely see my hand in front of my face.
Darling, you got your sunglasses on. You got your sunglasses on.
Oh, I got my sunglasses on. Thought I suddenly had a cataract problem.
Oh, look, there's the car.
Oh,
Right where we left it. Ah, look at, I got that tennis ball on the antenna.
That's right.
How about that? Woo. Oh. Oh, it was so good to see everybody again.
What?
You know, Alice, she was looking lovely tonight.
Did Alice want to pick a fight? No, I don't think Alice wanted to pick a fight.
I said, didn't Alice look lovely tonight?
I don't know. I thought she looked great. There's no reason to be catty.
I said, didn't Alice look lovely tonight?
I don't know. I don't know what you're mumbling about.
What is, Henry, look forward. What is happening? Let me see this. Henry? Did you know you've got a suppository in your ear?
Now I know where my hearing aid is.
No.
Yep.
No.
It's in the glove compartment next to my plastic bag of suppositories. My emergency supply.
Your emergency supply.
You never know. You gotta be prepared.
Oh my goodness. No wonder you couldn't hear all night.
Oh, that's so much better. Now I can drive.
Oh my goodness. Henry, can you scoot the car over a little bit? That truck's light is driving me a little crazy.
All right.
Thank you, dear.
These lateral seating.
That's so nice.
All right. Here we go.
Aren't you going to look back to see where you're going?
They'll see me coming. They'll see that tennis ball. Here we go. Living life on the edge.
Oh, I noticed you were talking to Bert most of the night. How's he doing?
He's good. He's good. He's all right. I think he's all right. I don't know. He was on the tennis ball. He was on the suppository side of the room, and I don't know. It was all clicks and whistles over there.
Maybe because he had a tennis ball in his mouth.
That could have been it.
No, I'm just kidding.
It could have been it.
Oh, so you didn't even hear about Vera's daughter, Virginia?
No, she was over there right next to him, so I had no idea what that was about.
Well, oh my goodness. I have to tell you. She said that about 2 weeks. Oh, Henry, turn here. It's closer.
Oh,
faster
okay.
there.
All right.
She said about 2 weeks ago, her daughter called and said, Mom, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But she said she sat down on the toilet.
Okay.
You know, the commode.
Yes.
And when she sat down, she heard this clink, clink,
What?
clink, clink. And she looked into the toilet and there were some nickels.
Oh my goodness.
Yep, right there in the toilet.
That's ridiculous.
I know. And then she said a couple of days later, she sat down and all of a sudden she heard plink, plink,
Yeah.
plink. Dimes.
What?
Right in the toilet. She didn't know what was happening, so her mom told her to just go to the doctor, and so she
Yes,
did.
but-
She's waiting, and you know how you have to wait and wait in the doctor's room, but she couldn't take it anymore. She went to the bathroom in the doctor's office,
Yeah.
and she heard plunk, plunk, quarters, right there.
Oh my gosh.
So she went running right into the examining room. He was checking somebody else
you
out.
can't do that. That's against HIPAA.
Well, she did it. And she told the doctor the story, and she was crying, and she said, I don't understand what's going on with me.
Oh, my goodness.
And he held her hand and said, now don't you worry.
Yeah.
You're just going through your change.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
I got ya.
Yes, you got me.
I got ya.
I thought somebody was slipping money into her food. I'm like, you're in trouble. Silver dollars are next, and that's not going to be easy. Oh my goodness.
you fell for-
Yes,
oh.
I fell for it.
I'm so
Oh.
glad you didn't hear that because it was so funny.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, I can't wait to tell the ladies about that.
Whoa,
Oh,
hey,
Henry.
whoa.
Oh my gosh, watch where you're going.
I am watching where I'm going. The trouble is somebody else isn't watching where they're going.
Henry,
Yes,
don't-
sir. I'm staring at you.
You can't do that these days,
The
Henry.
only way to learn, Betsy.
You never know.
Yeah, that's right. Take off, Rocket Man.
Oh, Henry.
Oh.
You can't just talk to people like that these days.
Oh my goodness.
You know, people have road rages.
I suppose so, but
I've
that was
read-
some kind of car he had.
Oh.
It's just like that 1944 Studebaker like we used to have.
Oh, well, but we didn't have the flames on the hood.
That's right.
No.
That's right.
Oh, I remember the day we got it.
Oh yeah, it was a beautiful spring day.
Fall.
No, it was spring. Spring.
Fall.
Summer.
That's right. We took it to the drive-in.
That's right.
We saw one of those dancing. I think it was a Fred Astaire and Ginger
right.
Rogers movie.
Yep.
Do you remember seeing that?
I don't remember watching much of the film.
Oh, Henry, stop that. Oh, Henry, we snuck that bottle of wine in your grandmother's wine glasses.
That's right.
We didn't have any of our own.
Uh-huh.
Do you remember at the end of the film?
Yep.
The credits were rolling, the music was going,
Yeah.
and everyone turned on their headlights and we were dancing.
Yeah.
That was a beautiful night, Henry.
You suppose that drive-in's still there?
No, they tore it down years ago to put in a super Walmart. Progress.
Yeah, I guess so.
Progress. Oh, goodness.
Well,
Oh, you know, I remember seeing that there was a note that your brother called you. What was that about?
oh, well, he went to see his doctor's appointment, and B, of course, drove him in. And after the doctor's appointment, the doctor called B in. It's like Bill left the room and said, B, get in here. She's like, what's going on? And the doctor's like, Bill's incredibly stressed out.
What?
He's so stressed out, he could die.
No.
It's up to you, B, to keep him alive. And she said, what can I do? And he said, well, he can't have any stress. So every morning, just give him breakfast in bed. And give him a back rub every afternoon. And every evening, make passionate love to him. And so she leaves the doctor's office, and Bill's like, what's that about? And B looks him in the eye and says, Bill, you're going to die. Now the shoe's on the other foot, huh? Who's going through their change now?
Oh,
No, that note from Bill says he wants to
that
go
wasn't
fishing
even
later.
funny. That wasn't-
Yes, it was.
No.
It's better than the change joke.
I would let you die.
No, you wouldn't. You'd just do half of it, and I'd be really sick.
You're awful. All right.
Here we are, right at home.
Oh, you're awful. Oh, I gotta get these shoes off. Oh. Henry?
Huh?
What is it, dear?
Oh, I was looking at the house and thinking, house reminds me of other houses. Cars remind me of other cars. Jokes remind me of older jokes. You know, Betsy, you're more beautiful today than the day I married you.
Henry Carter, what's got into you?
I don't know, maybe those oysters I had at lunch.
Oh. You're gonna have to catch me first,
That'll be
mister.
easy to do.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't. Henry. Henry.
Listen.
Henry.
Gotcha.
You're naughty.
I am.
You're so naughty. Oh, it's been a lovely day.
All right, that's it.
Yes.
Thank you.
So we're ending right when we said we were going to end. All right, good.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for your time and your energy, and you can always feel it when you're presenting. I was looking for the clicker to see.
Oh.
Oh, there it is. Your time and your energy, we appreciate it. Thanks for being here. I feel like that, you know, there's a little Superman in everybody, right? No matter who you are, even if you're a little squirrely. There's our websites. It's basically in-themoment.com or net. If you Google TED Med Karen Stobbe, you'll see our TED Med talk that we did, if you know what TED Talks are. And if you Google This American Life, Magic Words, you can hear the podcast that we were on NPR. And it's a lot about my mom and Monday, so it's very sweet. The title is called Rainy Days and Mondays.
That segment of the Magic Words episode.
Is. And so I appreciate the invitation and all that Amy did to bring us here and coming to your lovely town. And so thank you guys so very much.
Yes, thank you a lot.